Welcome to the MLB Slate Breakdown. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Brent Hyden, taking a look at tonight's 4 or 5 game slate, depending on where you're playing. Small slates. It's not that enticing of a small slate. We also do have an NBA preview pod coming up soon.
Yeah, jam-packed day of some okay MLB games, and then preparing for the NBA playoffs, which will be fun. But I'm very very mad, shaking my fist at you, DraftKings, for taking the late game off the slate. Your reasoning is dumb, I say. Just kind of makes this 4 game slate just almost unplayable for me.
Yeah, it's kind of bad. Like in one, you got a lot of pretty mediocre pitching options. Like even the top end options, like I don't mind tonight, but they're not guys that I usually target. I mean, outside of really Barrios.
Yeah, like the options aren't terrible. It's one of those things where like I just don't like when you take when you shrink when you shrink the player pool that much and you make it where everyone's going to be playing the same people.
Yeah, I mean that's 20 guys that you're taking out of the slate.
Yeah.
It sucks. Well, let's dive into the games that are given to us here. Colorado, Washington, first one here. Chad Bettis, Gio Gonzalez. Gio Gonzalez is kind of going to be a default guy tonight where he comes in, big home favorite, going up against a Rockies team that's striking out a ton against lefties to start the year. Obviously, they're leaving Coors Park. I don't mind Gio here. I guess he's going to be playable in all formats just because there's a lack of options.
He pretty much has to be playable in all formats. He's been solid so far. Start the year, only giving up 1 earned run in each of his first 2 starts, 13 strikeouts over 11 in a third innings. Like I said, has looked really solid. He gets a good matchup against a Rockies team that so far this season against left-handed pitching is striking out 30% of the time. Generally speaking, when you get a team leaving Coors and going into a non like high elevation park, they're going to struggle for like the first game or so, which bodes well. And then we also have to consider that Nolan Arenado is probably going to be suspended. Whether he appeals or not, I don't know. It would be kind of dumb to appeal his suspension because he's still going to end up serving it, so you might as well just get out of the way. So you could get a very watered down Rockies lineup, especially with Blackman still bothered by that injury, so he may not even be in the lineup. So I think, like you said, Gio, all formats, pretty much the top option on the slate.
Yeah, like you said, that's a good call. I mean, Arenado possibly, going to be out of the lineup here tonight. Like you said, there's nothing to appeal here. You're only appealing, I guess, is just to play the game tonight.
Yeah, it's like a 1 game suspension. It's going to be probably a 1 game suspension. Like if it goes longer, if they say it's like 2 or 3, then I could understand appealing and trying to get it shortened. But if it's just 1 game, like you're not going to get it shortened. You're not going to get it like reduced to a fine. Just suck it up and take your suspension.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like you can look at some of these Colorado bats, like you said, leaving Coors, especially going east too. Like, it's not that appealing of a spot for the Rockies, but if you're not pitching Gio, I think you can take a look at some of the right-handed bats and GPPs. If Arenado's in, obviously he's playable, but like LeMahieu, Desmond Story, all interesting. Same with Iannetta.
Yeah, I would look at maybe Iannetta or LeMahieu, and that'd be about it for me.
Yeah, but overall, if you're not pitching Gio, like you can take targets there, but I'm pitching Gio, so
yeah. I mean, there's better places to be even contrarian on tonight's slate.
Washington side of things here, definitely a spot that I'm looking for bats. You got the wind blowing out there as well against Chad Bettis, definitely one of the weaker pitchers on the slate. I don't mind this Washington team. Obviously it's a little bit weaker just given that Eaton's going to be out for at least 10 days or so. We saw Brian Goodwin lead off yesterday. He's got some pop against Rays. He's an interesting value. Just kind of depends on what they kind of throw out there. I'm assuming Zimmerman would be back in the lineup.
Yeah, probably. Obviously, Bryce Harper being one of the best players in baseball, you can roll him out. He has a decent amount of pop. I mean, a 351 ISO dating back to last season against right-handed pitching. So there you go. You can roll him out. I do like stacking the top of that order. You could get Trey Turner. You mentioned Brian Goodwin, guys like that. Even Matt Adams, if he gets in the lineup, would be someone to target as like a one-off home run play. Anyone though, like Bettis, 360 WOBA allowed to right-handed hitters dating back to last season, 338 to lefties. He does give up a decent amount of fly balls to right-handed hitters as well, so you can target some of those righties in this matchup too.
Yeah, I like the Rendon and Zimmerman here. Like we'll be working them in Trey Turner as well. You got Zimmerman, fairly cheap on this slate. Howie Kendrick, if you need a cheap second base option, I don't mind him. Should be hitting fifth or sixth, depending on what that lineup looks like. Just because there's not a lot of cheap options.
Yeah, there really isn't, and it's definitely a good way to go.
So New York and Boston here had some fireworks last night. I kind of expect a high scoring game here. Usually these are such drag fantasy games, but they've been really good fantasy games so far.
Yeah, they have, and again, we have to be on the lookout for suspensions and people not being in the lineup because obviously had a big brawl yesterday, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. I honestly don't buy into Sonny Gray. I haven't bought into Sonny Gray period for the past 2 or 3 years. I think he's a fraud, and I don't necessarily buy into Porcello either. So I'm going to be looking to get bats in this game, and I'm probably fading the pitchers.
Man, tell me how you really feel about Sonny Gray.
He is a fraud.
I'm with you. Like I'm definitely going and attacking Porcello here. I expect the Yankees to come out and put up a ton of runs. It's usual suspects. Obviously, they're going to be priced up a little bit more because they're facing Porcello. It's not the matchups against Price or Sale prior. I don't even mind digging into like the bottom half of that lineup either, just because there is such a lack of value that I can see them doing some damage, like the Austins and Walkers, and obviously we need to keep an eye on it still. But those guys I don't mind here, obviously just because the top end they're going to be playable. Porcello just gives up a ton of hard contact. He allowed the most home runs in MLB last year. Like there's just so much potential 1 through 9.
Yeah, there really is. And he gave up a ton of fly balls to left-handed hitters dating back last season. That makes Didi Gregorius very, very, very interesting. Even if you're not getting a bunch of exposure to the Yankees, Gregorius, an excellent like one-off option here. The wind is projected to be blowing out, so that does kind of help. I love Brett Gardner here. You could definitely do something like a Gardner Gregorius and then get like Aaron Hicks, who's projected to be back in the lineup, and a Neil Walker or something like that, and get some of the cheaper, lower owned exposure to the Yankees tonight. And even Tyler Wade, who should be in the lineup, probably batting ninth, really cheap second base option.
Yeah, so I definitely don't mind the Yankees. I think for me, I mean, probably them and the Angels are going to be my top two offenses here.
Yeah, and I think the Yankees for sure. I might end up fading the Angels. Crazy to say that. I might end up fading them and maybe just stacking some Red Sox and Yankees and hoping this game goes bananas.
Yeah, I mean, I really could. I mean, even on the Boston side, like if you're looking at stuff like with Gray, like obviously it's nothing's going to really pop out. The only thing that kind of really stood out to me is did allow a decent amount of home runs to right-handed bats. Obviously, you have guys like Betts and Hanley and Martinez from the right side that I'm really looking at here, but I think Devers and Benintendi are also really interesting.
I think the 1 through 9 is pretty interesting in this spot. Again, I don't buy into Sonny Gray. Betts has kind of struggled against him at times. I think he's like hitting like 133 against Sonny Gray in his career. Hanley Ramirez has been really good against him, and Hanley Ramirez has been really, really good recently. He's not going to cover off the ball. I like him even as a one-off. JD Martinez, I think, definitely homers in the spot. I'm gonna call that one right now. He's my home run call of the day. Definitely homers in the spot. So I do like getting some of these right-handed power bats in there, and then like you mentioned, Benintendi and Devers, decent options too.
Yep, and like I said, man, I don't even mind the back half. Like it's 4-game slate, maybe 5. Once again, where we're playing, like I don't mind like getting exposure to maybe an Eduardo Nunez or Jackie Bradley to be really contrarian on this side.
Yeah, that's the way that you're going to want to do it tonight. I think if you're wanting to roll out Barrios and like Gonzalez as your chalk pitchers, you're going to have to get contrarian and doing like a wraparound stack with like a Bradley, Brock Holt, Sandy Leon, Betts, something like that, where you're getting exposure to the very bottom of the order and then getting like the top of the order as well. That's probably going to be a good way to go.
But definitely a good game to target there. Chicago, Minnesota next. You got Lucas Giolito taking on Jose Barrios. Barrios is, obviously going to be a guy who rivals, I think, Gio for a top spot tonight. He's the other arm that I'm going to be trusting here. Has pitched well at home. I think that's obviously something to note here. He did struggle on the road dating back to last season. There was some strikeout upside here. Barrios is a guy should be facing actually quite a bit of right-handed bats in this lineup tonight.
Yeah, he should, and that makes him extremely interesting just because he has an almost 25% strikeout rate dating back to last season against right-handed bats, 257 WOBA allowed. Fly ball is a little bit concerned about 40% fly ball rate, but not allowing a lot of hard contact or home runs. So against the White Sox team that we know is prone to striking out, they do have a lot of power, but they also do strike out a decent amount. So I think he's your clear-cut like number 2 option today.
Yeah, I do too. Like, you're going to be paying up here for Brios, and like I'm a fan. Neither of those guys are obviously expensive. DK, they're up in the double digits, but I'm with you. I think if you're really looking to take anyone on the White Sox side, like it's probably just going to be the bigger power bats, like an Abreu or Davidson. But I guess like Moncada or Delmonico are kind of interesting if you're looking to make GPP moves.
Yeah, I would probably look at Abreu, Moncada, Beef, Wellington Castillo, and maybe some Delmonico if you're wanting to be extremely contrarian and hope that that Barrios does struggle a little bit.
Yep. Twin side of things here. I have plenty of interest in the Twins here tonight. Like, I think they're going to get overlooked just with some of like the Washington and Yankees side of things here, and even Angels. I think the Twins are going to be the low-round team that I'm really attacking.
Yeah, I do like them a fair amount. Obviously, Giolito did struggle in his second start. Kind of gave up. He's been walking people like crazy. 4 walks against Detroit or 3 walks against Detroit, 4 against the Royals, 5 runs against the Tigers, and 3 against the Royals. Like, this is a good spot, I think, to attack him tonight. And I think like 1 through 1, like the entire lineup for the Twins is in play here. I love Dozier leading off. Excellent option here at second base. Even Joe Mauer, who's actually hitting the ball decently, which is kind of surprising. You can roll him out, and like someone like Logan Morrison, Eddie Rosario, Miguel Sano, all these guys are excellent options to attack here.
Yeah, and they're all super, super cheap. I mean, outside of Dozier and Snow, everyone's, lower 3Ks. You might get like maybe another lefty in there like Max Kepler, who's 3K too. He's got some power against righties. Like, this Twins team is going to be kind of my value fill-out team, and also just I'm going to be looking to stack them as well. I like the Morrison call. Obviously, he's got the power. Eddie Rosario's way too cheap for a cleanup hitter in the spot on both slates tonight.
Yeah, he is an amazing option here. He's got a lot of power against right-handed pitching dating back to last season, 260 ISO, 17% strikeout rate. So he's disciplined at the plate. Yeah, I love Kepler in the spot too. We saw him kind of erupt yesterday. He's kind of a streaky guy, so if he's going to start hitting the ball really well, I do want to get some exposure there. If you just wanted to go with the lefties, you could get Rosario, Morrison, Kepler, and like Jason Castro and just kind of do a lefty stack.
Yeah, definitely don't mind that. But yeah, Twins are definitely a team. Don't overlook them on this slate. LA, Kansas City. LA side of things, obviously against Kennedy, there's some interesting home run opportunity. I can see Kennedy also being a viable GPP guy tonight too.
Unfortunately, I agree. He is a guy does give up a decent amount of contact. He's 81% dating back to last season. His peripheral numbers are somewhat scary, and he hasn't been someone that I've had a lot of success in picking on or using in the past. Like, generally, whenever I pick on him, he goes off like he did against the Indians, and then when I use him, he just has a mediocre game like he did against the White Sox. So it's really tough, but I think this is a spot where you can target both sides of this game. It is a little concerning, his batted ball numbers this season after 2 games, average distance of 233 feet. That's up from 208 last season. And hitters are knocking the ball 91.1 miles per hour is his average exit velocity this season compared to 89.3. And in a park that is decent for pitchers, you would normally you would normally feel safe with that, but the wind blowing out almost 20 miles an hour, that does concern me.
Yeah, like I am much more inclined to take Angels bats. Like, if you're building a couple of different lineups, like I think Kennedy's a fine option, especially on DK where they're really you are thinned out. Like, there are a lack of options after Gio and Barrios there, so he's viable. But Angels bats, like there are some power bats I'm looking to get after here. Ian Kinsler likely do back in the lineup. That's going to push Kozar back to hitting like 5th. If like Ohtani and Calhoun, like if Otani cracks the lineup again, like I'm obviously going to be intrigued even at that price. Like I do like the lefties a little bit more against Kennedy just in the longer run of things when you look at his sample size. But obviously you have to take consideration of like Trout and Upton and even Pujols I think is interesting.
Yeah, dating back to last season, they had first left-handed hitters, Ian Kennedy, 52% fly ball rate, 46.4% hard contact. So that does not bode well even in a pitcher's park, especially against some of these guys like Otani, who I think would be pretty dumb to not have him in the lineup. Cole Calhoun, another guy you could target. I do like those calls, and even like I don't know if he would be in the lineup, but like a Ryan Schimpf, you could use him as a value second base option. Any of these lefties would be the primary targets. And then if you wanted to sprinkle in Mike Trout because he is good at baseball, you can.
Yeah, definitely. And Royal side things here, I definitely don't mind the Royals. Like I like them quite a bit in the spot. Things changed a little bit last night. Like I was going to be looking at Heaney as a value SP guy, but with Tropiano in there, like I'm not really looking to use him, and I'm kind of looking to load up on some Royals.
Yeah, I do like some Royals. Tropiano hasn't pitched in the major since 2016, but his 2016 numbers 1.84 home runs per nine. Decent strikeout stuff, 23%, but not someone that I would even consider using in this spot against a Royals team that rarely strikes out. Contact numbers to lefties, decent, 37.2% hard contact, 376 wOBA allowed. So the lefties are in a decent spot. So you could look at John Jay, Moustakas, Lucas Duda, your home run kind of hitters there. But I don't even mind like Whit Merrifield, Drew Butera, and some of these other options who, like Butera, it really shocked me when I looked at his batted ball numbers. Average distance this season, he's hitting the ball 243 feet. Like he's hitting the ball pretty far. So not a guy that generally has a ton of power, but he is hitting the ball pretty far and pretty hard, and he is always really, really cheap.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely value within this lineup to get some exposure to. And like you said, the wind blowing out there a decent amount. Like usually I don't like to get all crazy about the wind, but those are some solid numbers out there.
Yeah, like if it's 15 to 20 miles per hour, that's when I start to look at it as something that like you kind of have to factor in.
Yeah. Giants Padres last game of the night. This is a FanDuel game. You got Brian Mitchell taking on Chris Stratton. This would be a great spot for Chris Heston. I don't like either of these arms here. Like I don't feel the need to really go like with a Stratton or Mitchell, just given that you have Brios and Gonzalez who are fairly priced on FanDuel.
Yeah, I didn't even open up my FanDuel lobby to see what the price on Stratton is. He's 6K. Like I don't really see a reason to go there. Even against the Padres, it just seems kind of like a waste of, the Brios and Gonzalez upside here. So I would be more inclined to get some exposure to the bats. The Giants side of this game, I think, is really, really interesting. Like I love Brandon Belt, Posey, Panic, McCutchen, these guys. Austin Jackson's shouldn't be, I don't think is going to be in the lineup. I think he's actually hurt. So you might get like a Gorkis Hernandez or something like that, another cheap value bat. I really, really like the Giants stack on FanDuel.
Yeah, I do too. I think Gregor Blanco's been the guy filling in.
Has he?
Yeah, and a lefty bat there against Mitchell. And Mitchell's obviously struggled. And lefty power, in San Diego is not that bad. It's a pretty neutral ballpark for lefty power.
Yeah, and that's another game, I think, with the wind. Okay, the wind's blowing in about 13 miles per hour, so that is a little concerning. But you could still see him get kind of BABIP'd around, and you may not get home runs, but like you could still get these guys putting up solid, double-digit fantasy point games even without home runs.
Yep. And even on the other side of things here, like I don't mind taking some Padres bats. You got Cordero there leading off for bare min on FanDuel. He's 2K. You got guys like Galvis and Hosmer all kind of fairly priced. Like I like this San Diego team here tonight. Stratton's not a guy who misses a lot of bats. 345 wOBA dating back to last year to lefties. He's just kind of an average righty. Like that's about it.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. He's just an average pitcher, and I know these Padres do strike out a decent amount. And you mentioned Franchi Cordero being back. He's a guy that doesn't have great plate discipline, but he is still a decent hitter, and he's good on the base pass. I love having him leading off especially at bare minimum, he would be a guy that I would have a lot of exposure to. Hosmer, Spangenberg, Perella, all these guys, even Freddie Galvis, who finally had a game where he didn't actually do anything last time out, but generally a guy that you can count on for some fantasy production.
Yeah, I mean, Gal was projected to hit second there tonight.
Yeah, it's a great spot. Like you have Franchi Cordero, and then Galvis, 1-2. That's a decent 1-2 punch right there.
Yeah, definitely. Home run call, you already said JD Martinez. Who do you guys are contrarian?
I am going to go with Logan Morrison.
Well, I like it. I'm going to go Ohtani as my popular call if he's in the lineup there. And I'll go Chris Iannetta as my contrarian.
There you go.
So that's it for us. You can head over to dailyfantasycafe.com, check out our tools and content, optimize our up running for today as always, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Good luck tonight.